I don't want to get into who. I've had a phone call with somebody that wanted me to consider running as third party candidate.
Are you considering running?
No, I'm not going to do that. No,
why?
Well, I think that I gave it my best where I am. And I just think running third party, it doesn't feel right. I think it's not constructive.
Former presidential candidate and Ohio Governor John Kasich telling CNN's Anderson Cooper that he just doesn't feel right about a third-party run. Governor Kasich also telling Anderson Cooper just minutes ago that he was not endorsing Donald Trump and he would not serve as Mr. Trump's vice presidential running mate. With that preface, let's return to Newsmax Washington, where we're joined by my old colleague on Capitol Hill, Jack Kingston of Georgia. Jack, we hear another of our former colleagues, John Kasich, saying no to a third-party bid, but also declining to endorse Donald Trump at this time. Talk about being constructive. What's your take on John's situation?
Well, I think, number one, saying no to the third-party candidacy sends a signal for those who are out trying to recruit somebody, because as Reince Priebus said yesterday morning, he said it would be suicide. It would split up the party. It would damage the conservative cause for decades to come. And I agree with that. I think it's counterproductive to try to get a third-party candidate. But the reality is, in terms of Governor Kasich saying no to being Veep, it's a long way away. Maybe he should be saying that at this point. I do think the approach that some are taking in our party, JD, of let me study it, I'm not there yet, I want to, let's see what these tax plans are, let's look over the health care, let's talk about Supreme Court appointees. I think there's a certain deliberation that's going on. I was talking to our colleague, Congressman Charlie Dent from Pennsylvania the other day, and he said, he's one of those guys who's not there yet, but he realizes also there's probably no place to go. You don't want 4 more years of the Obama administration if Hillary was there, and you certainly don't want to have decades of Supreme Court decisions because they were appointed by President Clinton. So the reality is, I think conservatives are going to coalesce, but it's going to be at a glacial pace rather than quickly. Oh yeah, I'm there already. He's the nominee.
So some guys are going to take their time. Fair enough, Jack. Let's take another phone call out to Las Vegas, where Molly is on the line. Molly, I understand you want to talk about Trump's vice presidential selection. It apparently is not going to be John Kasich. So Molly, who should it be?
I'm very happy that John had enough sense to get that out right now and say he won't be. I saw a commercial just a short time ago where they asked the people to call in, and they gave 4 names of Donald Trump's former presidential people that were running with him, or you could choose a number 5 and give the name of your own. We don't need any one of those that ran with Trump to put in for his vice president. They would just go against him no matter what he wanted to do for America. This vote is for America. We need Donald Trump to pick the person that he knows can help him make it happen.
But Molly, if you were going to make a suggestion to Mr. Trump, who would you suggest that he select? Think you're thinking about that. All right, Molly, fair enough. Well, let me go to Jack Kingston. Jack, I know that you want to keep friends, but I also know you're a pretty straight-up guy. A lot of folks still talk about Newt being Mr. Trump's running mate. What's your take?
I think Newt would be great. He knows how to get things done, as you and I know, because we were there during the Contract with America days, that was one of the most productive periods of time in the U.S. Congress, really in history and certainly in the last half century. So Newt could get the trains running on time so he can bring the agenda forward. I think he would be very good. I would not count out Kasich yet, and I still would not count out Marco Rubio, because as Republicans, we have to win Florida or Ohio in order to win the White House. I was a Ted Cruz guy. I would put Cruz in the mix because, again, the Cruz Trump combination really does turn Washington on its head. And that's what people want. They want a complete revolution of their government. And I think that's why they want this outsider. Yet Cruz has, I'd say, the intellectual firepower that the ticket might need in order to get things done.
All right, well, let's continue to take calls. And I understand from the state of Maryland, we have Marilyn on the line. Hi, Marilyn.
Hi, how you doing?
Fine, thank you.
What I'd like to discuss tonight is I have not voted since Reagan because I couldn't stand all these politicians and the promises they made. So this year I'm voting for Trump because I think he's the best man for it. And I think that Newt Gingrich would be a good vice president.
All right, so you are all in for Trump, and you'd like to see it be a Trump-Gingrich ticket. What is it about Newt that appeals to you, Marilyn? We got about a minute.
No, he just seems to be down to earth, and, I think he would be the best one.
Well, certainly he understands how Washington works, but even in his presidential campaign, he spoke about the establishment and, in fact, ran against the establishment back in 2012. Jack Kingston, we talk about the political equation. There's nothing wrong with that. You talked about the electoral votes. Anybody else out there on the horizon that has not been mentioned, Colonel Allen West or somebody, anybody on your radar screen? About 30 seconds.
Well, I think Nikki Haley would still be great, but I want to say something what Marilyn from Maryland just said. She hasn't voted since Reagan. JD, that's what this election is all about. It's about the people like Marilyn who've been sitting on the bench because they're disgusted with Washington, D.C. This year, for the first time in many, many elections, probably millions of them will be coming out and casting their ballot for Donald Trump, for change in Washington, and I think that's a good thing. I think it's very healthy for the party, and so that's a great call, and I just want to say thanks for Maryland for coming back into the game. I'm not sure who the vice president could be. Again, I do like Nikki Haley, a good Southerner, maybe putting a softer face on things, but the reality is, JD, it's still going to be Trump who gets people out to the polls.
And Jack Kingston, we thank you for your time tonight from Newsmax Washington. Also our thanks to Marilyn from Maryland and everybody else who called in. Well, now it's time for The Way You See It, your comments via social media. You may remember on Friday night, I put up an email from Deanna, I guess, who complained about my segues. Well, Darby writes in with a different point of view. Darby writes, JD, we love your segues. You're so clever and they always make us laugh. We notice your guests always smile as well. Most of all, we love you and your service to our country, both as a representative and now as a news anchor host. God bless you and keep up the good work. Darby, thank you, and really also to Deanna. We thank you for criticism. Part of mass communication is not everybody's going to like what it is you have to say. But Darby, I do appreciate your kind comments. Phoebe writes in about people complaining about Donald Trump. Here's what she has to say. Dear JD, I'm getting frustrated with people who say Trump ought to make his policies clear. Meanwhile, the media refuses to report them or reveal where to find them. Those people who complain are conveniently acting blind and deaf. And next, we hear from Daryl, who sums up his thoughts on the GOP this way. Last chance to get it straight for the Republican Party. Either reunify the party with Trump at the helm and conservative voters at his side, or hand the win to Hillary on a silver platter. End of story. But not quite the end of the program. It's a good thing this is television, because this picture is worth 1,000 words. Vet emailed it to us. Look at that. The subject, put on your big boy pants or get the HE double hockey sticks out of the Republican Party, and you see the faces of Lindsey Graham, Mitt Romney, Paul Ryan, and 3 members of the Bush family. And we do thank the Bush family for its service, but now it's time to stand behind the party. Ditto for Mitt Romney. Mitt, can't believe you're doing this. Well, anyway, what do you think? Both about that picture and everything else we talk about. Here's how you get in touch with us. You see the web address, newsmaxtv.com/comments, or Twitter, where our handle is at Newsmax Prime. More of your phone calls tomorrow night. We'll look for you then. Till then, stay brave, stay free, stay tuned.